To set up a new field, that's going to be right here. It's going to bring up the closest available fields if you have boundaries around those. If not, you can hit view all. And you can add a new client, you can add a new farm, and you can add a new field. In this case, I'm just going to add a new field. I'm going to call it home. Hit OK. Hit save. Hit OK. And now we're all set. We've got a new field. Our acres are going to default to 0, and you're ready to go with this new field. You also see that it cleared off your previous guidance track, so it'll prompt you to set a new track as well before you can start planting. So I'm going to start from scratch here, setting up a track. As you can see, I'm in a 4-row planter, so my track spacing is at 12 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and hit set track. You can pick from any of the tracks that might already be there, but if you want to make a new one, you can hit new track. I want a straight track, and I want to do A plus B. So I can give this a name. Maybe I'll call this East Side. Hit OK. Now it's going to ask me to set an A point, so I like where I'm sitting right now, so I'm going to set that as my A. It's going to ask me to drive at least 10 feet. Normally we'd recommend driving to the end of the field just to make sure you've got the longest line possible, but you can set your B point at any point. We would definitely recommend setting your A point before you start planting. So set your A at one end, set your B at the other, and then auto track back down it with your planter raised. That way if you need to shift your line one way or another to make sure you're not into a fence row, you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead, I already set my A, put the tractor into drive. I'm going to go ahead, go 10 feet, so just so you can quickly see how this works. Now I'm going to set my B. Stop. And now you can see that we have the guidance track on the screen. If you needed to shift that one way or another to make sure you're not going to be into a fence row, that way when you're auto tracking back down it, you can shift it left or right. You can change the shift increment. I've got it set for a foot, but that's just one way you can make a simple adjustment to your guidance line. Now I'm going to try setting up an A-B curve. So to do that, go to set track, new track. Here's where all your straight tracks are going to be. Curve track is here. A-B curve. You can give it a name. I'm going to call this west side. Hit OK. OK. Now we're ready to begin recording the track. So I'm going to hit the green button to start. There's an option here if you need to pause recording, so maybe there's a tree down that you're going to clean up later. You could pause the track and it'll draw a straight line for that segment. If not, we're going to put the tractor in drive and we'll start moving. And you'll see on the screen it's going to start painting a blue line. That's going to be your guidance track. Once we get to the other end, we can hit done, and that track is going to be saved and ready to use. Now that your guidance line is set up, you're ready to engage your implement guidance. So there's a safety feature here. So this is your auto track enable button for the tractor. This is the auto track enable button for your planter. You're going to want to toggle that so that you have 3 pieces of pie. This should stay on throughout the day, but if you cycle the key, that may turn to off. So as long as you have 3 pieces of pie here, 3 pieces of pie here, when you engage this auto track button, that's going to enable auto track on the tractor and the planter. So this tractor is set up so that SCV1 controls our steering. So to put the steering into auto mode, you just click that ahead 1. Be careful you don't click it all the way down and it'll stay. That puts it into float. So just pull it back, make sure you just click it 1, and it's going to go into auto mode. So now you can see that the SCV is in auto. Our steering is ready to go. So if I put the tractor into drive, and now if I hit my auto tracker zoom switch, and I see the tractors acquiring the line. This is the distance the tractor is off the line. This is the distance the implement is off the line. So that's green, implement's in auto. That's green, tractor is in auto, SCV is in auto. On this page here, you can see the flow. It's making slight adjustments back and forth. So you can see it's working to keep the line. If I look back here, you'll be able to see little slight adjustments in the steering cylinder. So this tractor follow mode is unique to the John Deere system. It's a great feature that allows you to turn sharply on headlands. So when you're driving the tractor manually steering, that allows the implement to follow the path of the tractor. So it's great if you've got an odd-shaped field and you need to turn really sharply on the headlands. The implement will follow closely behind the path of the tractor. For safety reasons, it will default to off if you've been parked for a certain amount of time. The reason for this is you wouldn't want this engaged if you were pulling out onto a road or something like that, and you wouldn't want the planter swinging out into traffic. So typically it'll stay engaged, but it may default to off if you hop out to fill or need to make a repair or something like that. The whole idea is that it won't activate automatically so that there's unexpected movement on the planter. So you can see here that I've been parked for a few minutes, so it says status low speed timeout. So to enable that again, just hit the toggle button, and now it's active, and it gives me a countdown until the next time that it will default to off. So right now we're moving forward. If you want to, if you're trying to pull in and acquire your guidance line, you can put the tractor into reverse. Don't touch anything, leave it all in auto, and the system will keep the planter lined up and acquire the line in reverse as well. So you see it's staying on track. I'm backing up with auto track engaged. This can really help you if you're on a short field or a short headland and trying to acquire your guidance line. If you need to manually steer the cylinder for whatever reason, you can do that. Steer it to one side. Then if you hit the auto tracker zoom switch, that will engage the system again. See it working here to keep the line. In this machine we have SCV3 set up to lower the planter and turn on the work recording. So the key is that you have to click the SCV down. So I'm going to do that with number 3. Click it down. You can see the work recording will turn on. Now if I start moving, it'll start painting on the screen, and you'll see the acres here. If I drive far enough, it'll start to count up. If you find that it's taking too long for the paint to engage, so if it's not matching, if that light is not turning on at the same point that the planter is engaging the ground, you can change that under your tractor settings page. So SCV3, I'm going to go to timer, and you're going to set it for however long it takes from the time you click that button until the planter engages the ground. So you just might need to play around with that, but that's going to ensure that your paint matches up with where the seed is actually put in the ground. So if you're changing varieties and you want to document that in the display, you can hit that, go to the setup button. It should already be set up here. You can change varieties, you can change your seeding rate if you want it right here. Hit OK, accept that. Now we have this button here to add a boundary. So it's a great shortcut. You can hit this. I already have a boundary in this field, so it's just going to prompt me to clear that. So now you can create a boundary from a coverage map. So for example, in corn, if you plant all around the outside of the field, you can generate a boundary based on the outside of your coverage. In this case, I want to create a driven boundary. Hit OK. And it just asks you where you want the boundary to be recorded from. So in this case, my planter is 12 feet wide, so it defaults to 6 feet. You can toggle that to the left or the right side. You can also base it off the GPS location on the tractor if you want it the center of the tractor, or you can default it off to one side. You can toggle it one way or another. You might do this in the spring if you have a bar set up on the front of the tractor or the back to simulate your planter width, if you want to go out and record some boundaries before you actually get in the field and start planting. So once that's set up, you can hit start recording. Gives you an overview here. You can exit out of that page if you want, and you'll see it tells you that you're recording. So now if I start driving, you see the pink line being painted on the screen here. So if I did a whole trip around the outside of the field and I was done, I could hit save, and now it says boundary saved, activated for use. If you want to go in and find some more information about that boundary, you can go to menu, applications, fields and boundaries, and I have a very small boundary here, but that would give you your total boundary acre, and also would list if you have some interior boundaries. So if you want to record an interior boundary, you can do that. Record an interior boundary around a waterway or something like that. You could also add a headland, so you can have a top and bottom offset. Change the heading angle, maybe 45 degrees here. And you can tell it how far you want it to be offset from the top and the bottom. So this might be useful if you want to make sure you're leaving 25-foot headland around on the top and bottom of the field. You can do that and set that up there. Hit save. So as you can see, we have a training tool set up to simulate steering axles on a planter. This is a cylinder that actually pivots the wheels. Back here is the wheel angle sensor. This is something that you can check once in a while, once a day in the morning, just to make sure that it's connected there properly. We have a receiver on the pole here, connected by some harnessing. If we follow this up the back of the tractor, you can see that it's plugged into the big isobus plug right here. Below it, this is where the wheel angle sensor plugs into, and up above here, if I can reach it, this small one is the power harness. It provides power to the receiver. So that's some stuff that you can check just on a regular basis, make sure all the connections are still tight. As you can see, the hydraulic hoses for the steer cylinder, they just plug directly back into SCV1, which is the one we're controlling the steering with. You can also check those on a regular basis just to make sure there's no leaks, make sure everything's still connected in tight there.